Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Friday, April 10th. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Let's begin our broadcast right out of the gate in the great state of Oklahoma as Jackson Lawmeyer is running for Congress there. If you haven't heard already, thanks so much for joining us once again, Jackson.
Hey, it's always good to be on with you and love all that you guys are doing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Can you tell us what was it that said to you, was it someone that said to you, hey, run for Congress, or were you saying, I got to get out there and do this?
Well, no, I was definitely not saying I got to get out there and do this. Anytime you run for office, you kind of sign your life away, right? And so I originally said, no, not interested. But my wife and a lot of great people came around me and said, you really ought to do this. And so we've jumped in. And it's very simple why we're in. I want to take our conservative values to D.C. to help advance President Trump's America First agenda. Because you know this and your audience knows this. We're on the great American comeback. But President Trump needs reinforcements in D.C., in the Senate and in the House. And so that's why I'm in this, is to help advance his agenda.
Let's talk about that because we know that that Congress is on recess right now. They're going to get back into on Capitol Hill on Monday. Your thoughts about two things. One, the DHS funding issue. I think it's day 55 of that right now where it's not fully funded. And then second, the Save America Act, that kind of thing. So if you were in Congress right now, what would you be saying?
Well, I'd be saying we're putting America last because these are Americans that help keep all of us safe as we're flying across the country. And by not funding DHS over the Save America Act, right, over voter ID, I thought it was interesting. There was an article that came out today. Barack Obama has his presidential library, right? Did you know you have to have an ID to get into the presidential library? Now, I want you to think about that for a second. You have to have an ID to get in there, but you don't have to have an ID to vote. Something is off, and we're putting American citizens last over this whole thing. So I would be shouting from the rooftops, what are we doing here?
Exactly, and that's what we're seeing in the country. A lot of people are saying exactly what you're saying. You need an ID for everything, it seems. A lot of other countries, too, you have to register to vote and have an ID and proof of citizenship. To your point, in Chicago for the Obama Library, I can guarantee you that I will never see you there because you're not going to ever see me there. But how about
not on my bucket list of places to visit.
No, definitely not. Not specifically that building. Now, let's talk about that building in the sense of another one. And I believe it's going to be in Miami, Florida. President Trump just made that announcement about the Trump Library. Did you see some of those images there? Quite awesome stuff.
Very Trump-esque, is it not?
Yeah.
You compare the images of Obama's to Trump's, it's night and day, and it's quite incredible. Obama's looks like a penitentiary. It looks like a prison. And Trump's is this beautiful skyscraper that looks like it belongs in the New York area, and to have it in Miami. And so, that is a great example of the contrast between the left, the right, Obama, Biden, and President Trump. And I'll take the beautiful skyscraper any day over the prison.
Well, yeah, look at it. It's the bright and sunny skies versus the dark and gloomy kind of situations, specifically at that building, the way it looks. I mean, Chicago has the sun as well and bright, beautiful skies on occasion. But the point is, that building, looks awful. And let's get back to you running for Congress. Let's talk about the heart of a number of things. Make America great again, make America healthy again, America first. At the heart and at the core of all of this is God, family, country, and freedom, is it not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, I've been saying for years, I led pastors for Trump during the 2024 election, serving National Faith Advisory Board, White House Faith Office. If we're going to make America great again, we have to make America godly again. That's what made us great in the very first place. And so we have to return to our roots, which is one of the things I love about President Trump. A lot of people are unaware. May 17th, the president has asked Christians from all over the country to gather in D.C. at the National Mall because we're going to rededicate our country back to God, because we've veered so far off the path. And so, that's why we have to be involved and we have to be engaged. People matter, and policy impacts people for better or for worse. And so I want people that are good people to represent us in DC to help policy be shaped that's going to benefit all of our lives.
And finally, let's talk about Oklahoma there. Can you talk to us about the primary coming up? Obviously, the midterms on November 3rd. What's your pitch to the people of Oklahoma?
Yeah, it's very simple. I believe I have a proven track record of bold leadership as a pastor, as a business owner, but also being involved in the political sphere. And so my objective, like I said, bring conservative values to DC and to advance America First policies, keeping our borders secure, removing illegal criminals off of our streets, not allowing Chinese Communist Party to own American farmland, not allowing Sharia law to take root. This is what I want to do. And the primary is June the 16th. And here in Oklahoma, whoever wins the primary wins the general. The general election in Oklahoma is the Republican primary. And so we need all the help we can get. JacksonLawmeyer.com. People can learn about my positions. They can also financially help us to win this very important race.
And you bring up a great point about June 16th. The primary is not just something to just let go of and just hope that the right person wins. You have to be involved.
Absolutely.
Jackson Lawmayer, being involved now, running for Congress in the great state of Oklahoma. Thanks so much again for joining us, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man.
Definitely. Awesome stuff there. I remember interviewing Jackson a while ago, again, at Pastors for Trump, the leader of that group. Pretty awesome stuff to have him here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 12:07, Friday, April 10th. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors. But also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. As we grow, as we expand here at the network, covering all sorts of news, conservative perspectives, of course, here at the network. But you know, we see what the other side's saying as well. And we'll talk about all sorts of things here at the network because that's what our job is, really. It's really to give you a voice as well. And you'll have that once again on April 17th. President Trump out there in Arizona. We'll have boots on the ground there. We'll be interviewing you prior to that speech, just like you see right there on your screen, just like that over the several years here at Right Side. So rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, one other point about RSBN. If you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. A lot of people signing up for that. Hopefully more will. rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. All right, let's also go to mypillow.com/RSBN. You see the warehouse moving sale. You could save up to 80% right now. So if you're going into the weekend, maybe you just got paid, you have a few extra bucks, or maybe you just have a nice savings account. You might as well get some great products there with Mike Lindell and mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, it's 12:08. We have a lot of interviews coming up, whether they're recorded, whether they're live. They're going to be right here over the next couple hours. But also, we have a lot of videos to play as well as we're monitoring some of the latest news that's happening out there. Specifically, we heard from the White House. There's this video that they just posted. A number of angel families were speaking at the White House recently. So let's go to clip number one.
My name is Patty Morin. I'm the mother of Rachel Morin. Rachel is a mother to 5 children. She went out on a walk after work. She never came home.
My name is Michael Morin. My sister was Rachel Morin. She was brutally raped and murdered by an illegal alien.
3/4 of her head and brain hemorrhaged because of the violence. Brutally raped and then stuffed into a culvert, a drain pipe. It was the most devastating thing that our family has ever experienced.
I'm Tammy Nobles. I am Kayla Hamilton's mother. My daughter, Kayla, was murdered, raped, tied up, and left on the floor like trash. He was a known MS-13 gang member. He was allowed to come into this country and murder my daughter. I don't understand how these Democrats are fighting for the criminals. You're fighting for Kayla's murderer. You're fighting for those that have committed horrific crimes on American citizens.
This is my wife, Wendy. I'm DJ Corcoran. We're the Corcorans. Our son was Pierce Corcoran. He was 22 years old, and he was killed by an illegal immigrant. We feel better about this today than we did the last 4 years. It was really just a slap in the face, insult to injury, when they allowed all these illegals to come through across our border, knowing what these angel families have suffered through.
My name is Nikki Jones, and my husband is Shane Jones, and he was killed by an illegal alien back in 2019. Today means a lot because for years I've been trying to get my story out, and the press just censors me.
My name is Rosalie Soward.
And I'm Louise Schlosser.
We lost our father over 30 years ago in a car accident. He was killed by an illegal who had no driver's license or car insurance and left him to die. He had 6 children, multiple grandchildren, and he's a beautiful person, and we miss him every day. So thank you, President Trump, for everything you've done in honoring our families.
I just want to say, too, our mother, who was devastated by the loss of our father, she knew that Trump would do something about it.
My son, Bradley English, he passed away on October 27th, 2004. He was struck by a vehicle driven by an illegal alien, and they let him out after 2 years and 1 month. They said they deported him, but they didn't, and we've just been devastated ever since. Life will never be the same.
As a mother, you cannot fathom the pain that you feel. It doesn't go away, but it's been 2.5 years, and it still feels like it was yesterday. It doesn't go away. Today, President Trump honored us. The most powerful man in the whole world honored us. He looked at us, he saw our grief and our pain, and he genuinely cared. And I just want to say thank you, President Trump, for your kindness and for your integrity in keeping your word, but also your love for the American citizen and for humanity and for us who've lost so much. Thank you.
Obviously, pain, heartache there as of all these angel families speaking at the White House. And then you look at the Department of Homeland Security and the fact that the Democrats are holding it hostage in a way, not fully funding DHS because they have a list of demands that are ridiculous against common sense, against families across the country, against Americans. So tough to watch that video. Also tough to see what's going on in Washington when it comes to Congress just not funding DHS. You remember President Trump had to sign that memorandum just to get the TSA agents paid so our airports don't look like a you-know-what show. 6-7 hours people are waiting in line, really? And that is a security situation there. You have people that have to get onto a plane. You have all sorts of things going on across the country they have to get to. And you still have to have your bags searched. You can't just bring on anything, right? So anyway, hopefully we'll see DHS open up soon. Let's shift our attention from the United States over to the Middle East for Operation Epic Fury as national cybersecurity expert Dr. Eric Cole joins us now. Dr. Cole, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Can you talk to us about this ceasefire that's happening and how you're saying that ceasefire, of course, it covers the physical kinetic weapons, but it doesn't really cover the cyber weapons, cyber attacks. They're still on the table, right?
Absolutely. And that's the thing that's missing is the United States is acting like this is a one-dimensional war, where it's all about kinetic weapons, who can drop the most bombs and have the biggest effect. But the reality is Iran is fighting a multi-dimensional war where they also have psyops. You've probably seen a lot of these deep fake videos where they look real, that they're bombing certain areas that isn't true. And even the president has talked about how disruptive that is. And then the cyber war, which we've seen, we always knew Iran had the capability, but in the last month, we saw them take out Stryker, a major medical provider that I will tell you spends a lot on security and has top-notch people, and the Iranians broke right in. Then you have the head of the FBI. If there's anybody that has good security on their email, it should be the head of the FBI, and they broke right into his email. So right now we're seeing an increased cyber attack, and Iran even said that, listen, we might be okay with the US, but we're not honoring cyber attacks against Israel. So they're actively right now as we speak, attacking, breaking into Israel's computer systems. And I'll tell you right now, if I was Iran, I would be breaking into the US systems, planning backdoors, but not executing them yet based on how the negotiations turn out.
So what you're saying here, I mean, let's be straight up. I mean, it's a live interview. Giving somebody a thought or an idea or intel doesn't seem common sense to me, to be honest. But can you talk to us about your expertise, though, and why this is overall, the 30,000-foot view, important? Because, yeah, you're right. A lot of people are thinking about the kinetic situation right now, but not really what you don't see.
Exactly. So it's one of those where we have to recognize, and it's something we haven't had to do in a while in the United States, is think wartime conditions. We're not in peacetime conditions where we can trust email, we can trust communications, we can trust links. We have to go in and have a heightened awareness where we have to start locking down our accounts, turning on that extra security. Because the good news is all of our apps that you use, whether it's banking or e-commerce, they have built-in security, but it's turned off by default. So we have to go in and turn it on. And one of the best measures that everyone overlooks with your bank accounts or your crypto wallets is just turn on account notification. I just this morning got notified that somebody was trying to transfer money out of my account. I caught it within an hour and disapproved it. What most people don't realize is you have 24 hours. If you only go in and check your account once a week or once a month, by the time you realize that money is gone, it's too late. But if you just turn on an account notification where you get notified immediately and can say no, that right there can save you the huge headache of having money stolen or identities taken.
Can you also talk to us about Wi-Fi and Bluetooth? I'm going to be a very, those books, those yellow books that say, Idiot's Guide or Dummies for whatever. Well, I want to ask you about Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. And when we turn it on our phones, all of us mostly have a phone. Most of us use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Can someone hack into Bluetooth, hack into Wi-Fi? I would say the answer is yes, but are there things that we can do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Absolutely. So the first thing is, we'll start with Bluetooth, is turn off auto discovery. The default on most Androids and iPhones is if somebody is trying to connect a Bluetooth device, it will automatically allow it. And I'll tell you, I go in and run software that alerts me. I just was traveling these last few days, and at the airport, I had 4 different devices that was trying to connect to my phone via Bluetooth. And if I had the default settings, it would have been able to and have access to my data. And then the scary part is on the airplane, there were 3 times during a 2-hour flight where some rogue device was trying to connect to my device. So it's just turning off the auto discovery, the convenience. And then with Wi-Fi, it's downloading. You just go into the App Store or the Android store and put in VPN, virtual private network. And there's OpenVPN, there's free VPN. You install that. It runs in the background, minimal impact, but then it will encrypt and protect your traffic. So this way, when you're sitting at hotels or airports, somebody can't intercept your data.
When you look at the iPhone, specifically with the Bluetooth, because you were talking to us about the discovery, I don't even know all the lingo, as you mentioned, but is that just something in general settings to turn off that so people can't just get onto your Bluetooth?
Exactly. You just go under settings, there's a Bluetooth, and you just slide the little bar for auto discovery to off. And then with wireless, you can just go in and say, don't connect to untrusted networks. So like I said, the good news is the security is there and it's easy. It's just nobody's talking about it or educating the public on what they need to do to protect themselves.
All right, and finally, so we're going to go from personal matters in a sense of the domestic situation for our country to bigger matters, the government and other governments and the cyber attacks that are happening. What is a DDoS attack?
DDoS is distributed denial of service. So the idea is we all think about stealing data, but what we don't realize is the availability of data is just as important. So what happened with Stryker, they didn't steal the data. They didn't ask for a ransom. They basically deleted it and denied access to that data. So imagine if you woke up tomorrow and all your data was gone. Your iPhone was a brand new image, your laptop was default. That could have a huge impact. And that's what we see the Iranians really good at, is just denying access to your data for disruption, not stealing it like the Chinese or asking for ransom like the Russians.
It's wild. It's a wild tech age, information age, of course, but now we're entering into the AI robotics age. So can you talk to us about that specifically? It's just going to be, I guess, us as people just have to be that much more aware of what the heck's going on out there.
It essentially just takes these attacks and accelerates them at an exponential level, because before AI, if we go back just 2 years ago, if somebody wanted to break into your system, it would be human against human. So they would go in and create some generic phishing attacks, try to figure out your profile, but it wouldn't really be scalable because it's limited by the human time. Now they can go in and deploy thousands of agents that can now go in and have agents just focused on you or your entity and just learning you, understanding you, and then doing very customized phishing. So what we've seen, and we track these metrics, is before AI, phishing attempts had about a 7% success rate. Now with AI, it's jumped up to 49% chance of it working, because now they can be more sophisticated and scale and more adaptive.
So if there's somebody watching right now and they're concerned about all of this, what different companies would you recommend? And just full disclosure, this is a national cybersecurity expert. This is Dr. Eric Cole. In no way have I seen anything where he's connected to any company. So if you could share with us just a couple companies that people can look into to say, hey, I might want to get security for this.
Yeah, so the most important thing is endpoint security. If you just go in to Google and just put in endpoint security, there's lots of different products out there. They're all very, very similar, and they're all sort of rated the same way. And the other most important thing is use AI and don't be afraid of it. So I recommend going in, I'm switching now to Claude. It just seems to be a lot more adaptive. And actually go into Claude and say, look at how I work and operate, and recommend what is the best endpoint security product for me. The reason I'm not giving one is it's so tied to the specific user, but if you use Claude to understand how you operate, it can then make a very specific recommendation.
National cybersecurity expert Dr. Eric Cole, thank you again for your time here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Interesting information. You know, that's that new, obviously tech age we're kind of already in, the robotics age, AI, that kind of thing. So on top of that, all of the cyber attacks that have been happening in general, whether it's government to government or personal, I guess. But anyway, interesting topic there. Let's go to a few of our sponsors, including the following one right here on Right Side, All Family Pharmacy. With everything going on in the world, supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that not many are talking about, your access to medication is something that should be top of mind. Most people don't think about it until they need something and can't get it. And then by then, it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry the hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this whole process simple. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it straight to them. If you don't have one, you go online, you fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor will then review it. If appropriate, they will then handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. This is about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. The people who have what they need in a crisis are usually the ones who simply planned ahead, so you don't have to wait till the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of the whole thing now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use the RSBN 10 promo code. Let's also go to our next sponsor here on Right Side, Birch Gold Group. When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. But if you fast forward to today, the US dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why these central banks and others are buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But it all starts with education. Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. So it's a free online event that rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So you can sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. So you get even larger incentives as you go. So the more you learn, the more you can earn. I think that should be maybe a slogan or a motto for life, actually. The more you learn, the more you can earn. But anyway, but you must act now, as this special event only runs through April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor back in 1971, and you don't have to lose yours, so just text the word Trump to the number 989898 to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event by April 30th. Again, text Trump to 989898 today. All right, it's 12/26, Friday, April 10th. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're going to be going to New York City in a little bit. We're going to go to Washington, D.C. I believe we're going to Nashville, Tennessee, all in this broadcast. So thanks for joining us here on this Friday. And of course, if there's any breaking news or any kind of developing news, we'll be here for it. Even if it's when we're not on the air. If there's a big major story going on, we are usually here for you live in studio. But also, you can always follow us on True Social and on X and on Facebook and all the things. Download the app too. Also, the newsletter, RSBN newsletter. You can download that or actually sign up for that. rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. Also, let's talk about Rumble a little bit too. This is the home, RSBN is, for Rumble. So a shout out to our partners at Rumble. All right, as we approach the bottom of the hour, let's go to a number of videos that we have in store as we have some more live interviews coming up. As Vice President J.D. Vance is leading a team of negotiators to discuss the ongoing ceasefire with some of the newly minted, I guess, Iranian leaders. So the vice president spoke with reporters today prior to leaving for Islamabad, Pakistan. Let's go to clip number 2.
We're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll, of course, see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The President has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see. So I hope you guys have a safe flight. We'll certainly take some questions later on, but for now, let's get on the plane and hit the road. Thank you all.
All right, and speaking of Operation Epic Fury, let's now get an update from the United States Central Command in clip number 3.
Hi, I'm Admiral Brad Cooper, Commander of U.S. Central Command. Less than 6 weeks ago, more than 50,000 of America's sons and daughters in uniform launched Operation Epic Fury and embarked on a mission of profound consequence. We set out to dismantle the Iranian regime's ability to project power beyond its own borders, and we clearly accomplished this task. Iran has suffered a generational military defeat. The United States and Israel systematically destroyed Iran's ability to conduct large-scale military operations for years to come. Iran's conventional military capability, built over 40 years at the cost of billions of dollars, has been eliminated. As the President expressed earlier this week, our core strategic military objectives have been achieved after destroying Iran's missile, drone, and naval capabilities and their defensive industrial base. After successfully conducting more than 13,000 strikes on Iranian military targets and flying thousands upon thousands of combat flights, U.S. forces have paused offensive operations in accordance with the ongoing ceasefire. However, we remain present. We remain vigilant, and we remain ready if called. We also continue to stand shoulder to shoulder with our regional partners in maintaining the most sophisticated and largest active air defense umbrella in the world. At the beginning of this campaign, I sent a letter to the force expressing my expectations, and our extraordinary warfighters exceeded each and every one of them. So to all our soldiers, sailors, Marines, airmen, guardians, and Coast Guardsmen operating forward, you represent the strongest, most lethal military the world has ever known. In less than 40 days, you destroyed the military that Iran built for over 40 years. Your courage, grit, and ingenuity have served America extremely well. Finally, I want to close by remembering and honoring our 13 fallen warriors who made the ultimate sacrifice during Operation Epic Fury. We continue to hold their memories and their families, their friends, and their teammates in our prayers. Their selfless service and dedication will always be remembered as future generations follow their example and carry forward their legacy. Our men and women in uniform represent the best of America. I just could not be prouder and more humbled to serve with them, and I know the American people share that same pride. So to our warriors, stay sharp, remain resolved, and continue to take care of one another. Thanks so much, and Godspeed.
All right, the latest from the United States Central Command on Operation Epic Fury. Let's come back here to the United States for this segment, and let's go to New York City, where we're joined by the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club, Robert Burkhead, joins us once again. Robert, how you doing there in New York?
How are you, sir? Doing well.
Awesome, awesome. Outside of how you're doing, how are the people outside of, in Manhattan doing when it comes to good old Mayor Mamdani, the great mayor of New York?
We are going through such a interesting set of times. We knew it was going to be weird with this gentleman in office. Some of these policies that they're pushing through, they're trying to push homeless shelters into our neighborhoods where kids are going to school. Tax increases 9.5% on property taxes. A therapeutic hotel at Rikers Island instead of funding the police, and then an outrageous budget proposal that is costing more than, I would think, all the states in the United States, more than the state of Florida, a $15 billion increase, and the state of Florida has less people in it. And so this gentleman is just, he is not managing from a common sense standpoint, and it's scary times, and we just continue to stand up and push back.
I saw in the New York Post the other day, it's one of the apps that I check out. I check out a lot of news sources out there, but I like to see what's going on in New York City. I think there were two homeless people that were right outside of Gracie Mansion, where the mayor lives and has his own little fence and all that are living there. They're doing all the things you can think of right there kind of on a sidewalk. That's awful. And that's the kind of city that Mamdani looks like he's cool with, because there's not a lot of people that are kind of enforcing any clear out the streets from that situation, right?
Right. And again, going back to the snowstorms, I mean, we lost upwards of 9 citizens in New York City because of the cold, protecting the homeless. You talk about protecting the homeless and homeless shelters, but he did not do a good job of that. And that's something we haven't seen in a long time. We're going into, this is the 250th celebration of our country. We flew around the moon. The astronauts are coming home today. God, keep them safe. And we should be celebrating our great country and freedom and low taxation and what made us such a great country. Instead, this guy is just going around and his stupid videos that he does. And he's not, he ran on affordability and he has not delivered on any of his promise. He just announced the other day his free bus program not happening because nothing's free. Nothing is free. And the sooner he maybe wakes up and sees that, maybe we'll all be better off as far as his policies and his focus is concerned.
What is it like to live on Staten Island there when it comes to having Mamdani as a mayor, such a leftist, progressive, all the things?
It's quite interesting. We've talked in the past. We have the greatest group of elected officials. Staten Island is the last beacon for hope, not just because they're Republicans, but because they believe in our values: safe streets, safe schools, good schools, low taxes, low property taxes. You don't get charged congestion pricing, and being penalized for working in Manhattan, being part of New York City already. We don't have the best transit system as it is. So we have elected officials that just all happen to mostly be Republican, and they stand for what we believe in. So it's kind of odd because we do live in this kind of silo where we live in normalcy, but nobody in Manhattan hears us. And, we're just considered kind of, they call us the forgotten borough, and maybe that's why. It's tough. It's tough because we all don't believe in any of this. And it almost feels like sometimes outside of our elected officials that we're not being heard. And these policies that get passed, it's just not fair. Just the other day, the mayor just announced again with property reform that people that are white are making too much money, and there's a differential that needs to be looked at. I mean, we're Staten Islanders. We pay probably one of the highest tax rates in property tax, real estate tax, taxation, bills, water bills, gas bills. There's a tax on everything, and so we just feel we feel not heard. We're a blue collar borough. We have many cops, firefighters, teachers, doctors, lawyers, you name it. And people come here because it had been more affordable out of the five boroughs. And he's making this, some of his policies are trying to make it unaffordable to live here. So, especially for the youth today, we continue to push back. We continue to just say, listen, if you have a paycheck and you're getting taxed, where do you want that money to go? And we have to speak up and you have to get involved. It can't just be business as usual and let it go. And thank God, as I've mentioned, our elected officials constantly stand up for us. They fight for us every day, and their common sense values. And thankfully, we've been able to push them off and push them back, and they haven't been able to take a stronghold on this borough.
Well, a shout out to the people of Staten Island that are on the right side of history. Also, I'm going to say this and people are going to look at me like, what? But a shout out to the patriots that are in Manhattan, the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, out there on the island. How about upstate New York? Because we know that there are at least a few, you know what I mean?
There's definitely a few.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, I covered that event with President Trump speaking in the Bronx, and there was a ton of people there for that event. And then you look at Trump Tower. I met a number of patriots at Trump Tower a couple years back. So a shout out to all of you guys in the Empire State that are on the right side of history. It almost reminds me of way west, Los Angeles, where there are some patriots out there too. But man, it's a fight that you guys have in the two largest cities in our country, man.
It is tough. And we have a lot of patriots in Manhattan, Bronx. I communicate with them often. I go to some of their events. They come to ours. Great partnership. It's discouraging even more so for them. And I think they kind of wonder, how the heck do you guys do it here on Staten Island, where we're only a few miles long and a few miles wide, and we're push back the city. And it's hard work. It's doing things like this, talking to patriots like you, getting the word out there, training our next generation to get involved, speak up. It's okay to have a different opinion. It's okay to feel a certain way. We can't be silenced, and we have to fight up for the freedoms that we want the next generation and the generation after that to carry on.
Amen. Robert Burkhead, the president of the Staten Island Young Republican Club. Thank you again for joining us, sir.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man. And of course, again, Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan. Shout out to all the patriots throughout that city. Also, my mom was from Brooklyn, so you have to always, give a shout out to Brooklyn as well. All right, let's go to a couple of our sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. You see kalshi.com/RSBN. Right there on your screen, a lot of different ways to bet or trade or just check out polls if you'd like, including when's the DHS shutdown gonna stop? We'll see. We know Congress will get back to Capitol Hill on Monday, April 13th. So those are some of the things that people are putting money on the line for. Also, again, just checking out polls. There's tons of topics on there, whether it's politics or faith or sports or entertainment, technology, podcasting, all the things. Right there, kalshi.com/RSBN. Use that QR code to go there. Maybe download the app or just go to kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, Rumble Wallet, another great sponsor here. You can tip your favorite creators with crypto and, of course, through digital means when it comes to cash. You may have been seeing those conversations happening online lately. Censorship, unfortunately, is back. It's happening everywhere. Platforms are just trying to control narratives, pushing the stuff they want us to see, but we can fight back in that information and financial arena. Rumble is one of the only companies that has really stood the test of time and deserves our support. On the one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but on the other side, they've introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Rumble Wallet. Now, with Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company, not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours, and only yours to protect your future and your family. So all you have to do is go to wallet.rumble.com or just download the Rumble Wallet app on your various app stores, whether you have a Droid, whether you have an iPhone, or if you have an old brick Nokia phone, I guess. I don't know how you'd be able to download an app on that. But anyway, Google right there and Apple are the two spots for your phones to get that app. Rumble Wallet, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So we have a number of live interviews coming up, but before we go to some more, why don't we do this? Let's go to the next story in just a second. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I have a question for you. Are you afraid of heights? Apparently, the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, isn't, and here's some proof. Wow, Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, joining the crew out there, climbing that tower. The question is, would you do the same? I wouldn't. Now, if someone were to pay me $50,000, I wouldn't. It would take a little bit more money for me to ever do something like that. That's insane in my opinion. But anyway, that's cool that he was able to do that. Go ahead and put in the chat if you'd like. Are you afraid of heights? Yes or no? So just let me see a yes or no. And you know what? I can't look at it this second. I mean, I could. I have an interview coming up. But a little bit later, I'm able to watch, what the live comments were during the time. So I just always like to see that too. So are you afraid of heights? Yes or no? Anyway, 12:43, Friday, April 10th. Let's take a quick break from politics, but we're still going to talk some God, family, country with our next guest as it's a Friday. Country artist Kelly Lang joins us live now to talk about her new song released today titled Hollywood. Thanks so much for joining us. I listened to your song this morning. You really go there about the pursuit and pressures of stardom. It's a great track. Let's talk about that. Thanks again for joining us, Kelly.
It's nice to meet you. And thank you so much for highlighting my song, Hollywood. That's so kind of you.
Definitely. So let's talk about it. Let's go into why you wrote that song. And then, I know it's being released today too, right?
It is. Came out at midnight last night. I wrote this with a friend of mine named Leroy, and we were just chit-chatting about the business. Music business is very similar to the movie business, and what people will do. They'll basically sell their soul to become famous. And it was just a thing that had not been really highlighted so much in country music. So we decided to try our efforts at that. And honestly, it was a little too spicy for me to record on the previous albums that I had going on. And this particular album that I have coming out this summer called Jealous Green Eyes is a little bit more adult contemporary. So it seemed to fit right into the other tracks. So we decided to put it out today.
Can you tell us some of the lyrics or some of the lines that are within that song there, and also maybe dive a little deeper into what some of those pressures are when it comes to people that are trying to make it?
Well, I will exclude myself from present company. I have not had these issues, but I have known a lot of people that say, well, if I did this, I could get further along, or if I did that, maybe I would, have gotten a little bit more opportunities. I never had to go down that route. Thank goodness. I was always very protected, but there's so many unfortunate situations, but some of the lyrics in the song is Holly packed her car and told her mom and daddy, one day you'll see me on the silver screen. A Baptist girl from back in Oklahoma. That town was too small for her dreams. So, you think leaving home is the answer and it's the key to happiness, but sometimes it's not. In Holly's position in this song, it clearly was a choice that she made to trade her morals and values for the lights in Hollywood. But it's just a fictional character, nobody that I knew in particular, but seems to be resonating.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why it was great to see or listen to that song earlier when I was talking to some of the people that are on your team there. But also when it comes down to God, family, and country, we talk about that a lot here at this network. Can you talk to us about how maybe that's your perspective as well when it comes to maybe when you get inspired to write songs and perform out there?
Writing songs to me is such a gift from God. I am so shocked how this all happens. I don't know why I'm shocked anymore, but I will hear music in my head in the middle of the night or a lyric or whatever, and I will have to be obedient to get up and go and to play the piano or put it down with my guitar, or I'll forget it the next day. Thank goodness for voice memos. But I feel God talking to me, and I feel that he leads me in different directions towards songs. I write all different types of music, and I tend to write kind of like movie theme type of songs. So I couldn't have come up with these melodies myself. It has to come from above, and I'm grateful for that.
That's awesome. And finally, where can people follow you and check out some of your music?
Please go to kellylang.net. You can find my book as well. I'm a 22-year breast cancer survivor, and I have a book called I'm Not Going Anywhere on kellylang.net. And you can read a bit more about me and check out my music.
That's pretty awesome. I didn't know that about you. So let's talk about that quickly in the sense of how are you able to overcome something like that?
Seriously, prayer, faith, positive attitude. My friend Olivia Newton-John wrote the foreword for my book, and she gave me a lot of her ideals on how to live a positive life and uplifting others and helping others through tragedy that maybe you might not have realized what you went through it for, but maybe it's perhaps to help somebody else. Maybe one of your viewers needs somebody like myself that is 22 years out to have a little hope today, and that's what I hope to share.
And that's exactly why we love having interviews like this with you. Thank you so much for joining us. Country artist Kelly Lang, thank you again for joining us here on Right Side.
Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear that kind of story here on the fly as well, but also, I remember back in the day, a former reporter that worked in Detroit. I was an intern at one of the spots in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And she said to me, she goes, you always have to go after the soul of a story. And that's really sometimes what I do. Actually, I do that a lot because it comes from the heart of the matter or the soul of the matter when it comes to God, family, country, and freedom and all the things. And but that was quite the interview there. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy as we get ready to dive back into politics here in a second. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. With everything going on in the world right now, supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that not many are talking about, your access to medication is something that should be top of mind. Most people don't think about it until they need something and can't get it, and then by then it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, and NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make it simple. Already have a prescription? Well, your doctor can send it straight to them. If you don't have one, you can go online, you fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. So this is all about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. So the people that really have what they need in a crisis are the ones who simply planned ahead. So you don't have to wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of it now and go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need. And you can also save 10% at checkout. Use that RSBN 10 promo code that you see on the bottom right of your screen. Let's also go to one more sponsor here on right side. I believe it is Kalshi.com, maybe? CovePure, covepure.com/RSBN. You've heard us talk about CovePure before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they just stay there. They don't break down, and they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you a bit more upset. The EPA actually set legal limits for PFAs in drinking water back in 2024, but the water systems have until 2031 to comply. That's 5 whole years from now. And until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that tap water, hopefully not. But that's why every single household needs CovePure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet, which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. CovePure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see out there at the store, their ClearWave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So there's PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles that are hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about CovePure is they just make it easy. It sits right on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call someone to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. So you don't have to wait for 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of the show, get $250 off for a limited time, covepure.com/RSBN. All right, it's 12:52. We have a lot to get to yet. And before we do, let's do this. I'm going to check out some of the headlines. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. We have a little bit to go yet, so we'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks again for joining us. Looking at some various articles right now and some posts here on X. We'll see if we have anything that's any breaking news. If we do, we'll bring it to you. And maybe we have a live shot there in Washington, D.C. as well, as we've seen the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the United States Capitol building, the White House, and the like. As today, all of the events on the White House press schedule are closed press currently. Sometimes they do open. If any open, we will bring you there live. And speaking of the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, beautiful Friday, April 10th there in Washington, D.C. As you see one of the planes there probably landing at Reagan National. And speaking of airports, Donald J. Trump Airport. That is a new airport down there in West Palm Beach in the sense of a new name. So that's going to be, the call letters are getting worked on now at the last check. So we'll see that happen. I actually looked it up online the other day just to see if there was a flight from wherever, Baltimore, Boston, to Palm Beach. It still has PBI on it, but it'll be cool to see the change. Anyway, let's do this. We know that Save America Act is something that we've been following here a lot at Right Side, and also the DHS ongoing shutdown. Two things that a lot of us want to see get taken care of for our country. And on top of that, we've been monitoring Operation Epic Fury. So as soon as we get the latest on that, we'll bring you there. In the meantime, we do have a couple interviews, recent interviews. So let's go to Carla Sands right now with America First Policy Institute, a recorded interview. Director, do we have that ready to go? Okay, all right, let's do this. Since it's 10 minutes long, we have another interview coming up in just about a few minutes. So what we'll do now is just go over some of the various stories that we're following, but also some of the notable events coming up, including April 17th, the president in Arizona to deliver a speech at a TPUSA event. Of course, we'll have live coverage throughout the day for that. Later in the next month after that, May 14th and 15th, the president will travel to China to meet with President Xi Jinping. And then we're told that there will be a reciprocal visit in D.C. later in the year. So, of course, two things we'll have covered here. Yet to be officially announced, there will be a special RNC midterm convention sometime this year. We don't know the date on that. We don't know the location. But we know one thing, it's definitely going to happen before the midterm election in November. And of course, the other notable date, the July 4th, huge birthday party for our country. The USA turns 250. Can't forget about June 14th as well, that huge UFC match outside the South Lawn, on the South Lawn of the White House. So looking forward to all of that coverage coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's do this once again. We're gonna have to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. At this hour, I'd like to give a shout out to our partners at Rumble, as Rumble is the home of RSBN. And also, speaking of Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you'd like to sign up for our newsletter, you could do so by going to rsbnetwork.com/newsletter. If you'd like to donate, just go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. If you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN, or you can go to RSB Network on X. Two great places to follow us. You can also download the app as well. All right, once again, about 1 o'clock here, looking live at the Jefferson Memorial. As we was talking about this the other day, so some of the specific memorials there in Washington, thinking about people like the President JFK, maybe Charlie Kirk, you know, having some sort of statue or memorial there within Washington, D.C. A lot of people were talking about that recently when I was made a post about it. So it'll be interesting to see if that ever would happen there in Washington, something that I think would be great to see. Also, some of the basic comments of the day. We the people, of course, love truth, freedom, and common sense. And that's one thing that, as we continue on here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we know that the president will be speaking in Arizona coming up April 17th. So it'll be great to hear from the commander-in-chief, but also from we the people out there in Arizona. All right, so you're looking live in Washington. Why don't we go there right now? And joining us now is the White House Deputy Press Secretary, Abigail Jackson. Thanks again for joining us, Abigail.
Yeah, great to be here.
All right, let's talk about the DHS shutdown. I think this is day 55 of this situation where DHS is not receiving full funding. So what's your reaction to that?
Well, I'm so glad that you're still talking about this. A lot of folks aren't, because the president took bold and decisive action to make sure that TSA officers and the rest of the hardworking employees at DHS are still getting paid despite the Democrats' decision not to fund the department. So because the president has done that, a lot of folks in the media don't want to talk about the crisis that we're still facing, and that is that the Democrats have refused to fund the Department of Homeland Security. They do not want to fund specifically ICE and Border Patrol, who are working so hard to keep our country safe and to remove dangerous criminals from the country. And so the president is continuing to work to fund the department. With Congress coming back next week, we're hoping to make some progress on that front.
Also, we aired a video at the top of the broadcast of a number of angel families there at the White House, and some of them breaking down, crying, sharing their stories about how their loved one was taken from an illegal alien, a criminal. So this thing, it makes no sense to a lot of people, that the fact that the Democrats want this laundry list of demands when it's really taking away what we need, more security for our country and our people, no?
Yes, you're absolutely right. And any American with a shred of common sense, so not Democrats in Congress, knows that ICE and CBP and the rest of the Department of Homeland Security are working tirelessly to keep American communities safe. I mean, just yesterday, the president shared on Truth Social the details of a horrific murder in Florida committed by an illegal alien that many in the mainstream media didn't want to talk about. But the president drew attention to this, and he will always draw attention to innocent American lives that are taken at the hands of illegal aliens. And I think what's the most devastating about this story is that it is not an outlier. There are constantly stories of American lives that are lost at the hands of a criminal illegal alien. And to your point, these angel families simply want attention for their cause, and they want to make sure that no family ever has to go through what they have gone through. And the Democrats simply don't care, and their decision to continue holding up funding for the department demonstrates that they are choosing to put illegal aliens over American citizens every single time.
And every single time, to your point, it sounds like the same thing when it comes to the Save America Act, because the Democrats, none of them want to even say they have any support for it, calling it a number of things other than the Save America Act, which, again, the common sense, isn't it? It seems like the percentage of people out there really want to see that act passed.
Oh, absolutely. The Save America Act is full of policies that have support from a huge majority of Americans, not just Republican voters, but all voters. That includes Democrat voters. Things like voter ID when you cast your ballot, proving that you're an American citizen before you can vote in American elections. I mean, these, again, are just common sense policies that the only people who are standing up and opposing it are Democrats in Congress. And you really have to ask yourself the question, why would Democrats oppose ensuring our elections are secure and ensuring that only American citizens can vote in American elections? It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. What does make sense is the great leadership of Pete Hegseth at the Department of War as we shift to Operation Epic Fury. I mean, he doesn't have to deal with the DEI stuff at all. He's able to follow an order and take care of business as ordered. And I think that yeah, as President Trump mentions, a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, maybe asking him, what about Pete? I don't know if that's a great pick. Well, he's a great pick, isn't he?
Yes, Pete Hegseth has done an excellent job leading the Department of War, and the president's entire team has really done an outstanding job executing on the goals that he set forth at the beginning of this operation. And as you know, and as your viewers know, the president has taken every single action possible to keep the American people safe now and for generations to come. And he is continuing to put the American people first, whether that is in the policies he's advocating for abroad or the policies he's advocating for at home, like the Save America Act, like making sure the Department of Homeland Security gets funded, and everything else he's working on.
Here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as you know, we like to tell it like it is. We've seen President Trump speak like that so many times in various speeches out there and within the Oval Office. But I just wanted to ask you a question just about your, when you started working at the White House there, what's your journey? How did you get to that position? Because people, to get working at the White House, it doesn't, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do that.
Yes, yeah, I was lucky enough to work for the president on his 2020 campaign and able to find a spot here on Caroline's team in the White House this time around. So I'm super grateful to be working with an awesome press team with Caroline and for the greatest president in history, President Donald Trump, and to have a front row seat to everything he's doing for the American people. I mean, I know your viewers see it. I know the American people see every single day he's working tirelessly, and I can personally attest that he really does work around the clock. He is just constantly doing so much that sometimes the news doesn't pick it up. Take, for example, tax week's coming up next week. I think the American people often forget, and who can blame them because things move so fast, that the president signed into law the biggest tax cut for working Americans in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, and a host of other benefits that really help working Americans. So those are still the types of things that President Trump is focused on every single day as the media tries to distract and cover everything else. And I'm lucky to be here and sharing the president's message with you all.
I do want to ask you a curveball question. Do you know the midterm national convention? I know President Trump talked about this on Truth Social. Have you heard any word on that happening?
Unfortunately, because that is more on the campaign side and I'm here at the White House, that's not something I can speak to, but you know, I'm sure you'll hear more from the president directly on that.
Awesome. All right, White House Deputy Press Secretary Abigail Jackson, thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Great to be with you as always.
Thank you. Great to see Abigail and also Kaylin Dorr pretty recently here with Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to cover President Trump's speeches and, of course, all the live events that you guys see from day to day here at Right Side. Let's go to a commercial break after we talk about calsheet.com/RSBN. calsheet.com/RSBN. A lot of great topics to be discussed on this great site, this great sponsor. calsheet.com/RSBN. All sorts of topics from science, technology, sports, faith, all sorts of things right there, calsheet.com. Also, Rumble Wallet, you may have seen the conversations happening online lately. Censorship is back and it's happening everywhere. Platforms controlling narratives and pushing the stuff they want us to see. We need to fight back in the information and financial area. So Rumble is one of the only companies that has stood the test of time and deserves our support. On one side, Rumble is challenging big tech censorship, but now on the other side, they have introduced something that will give us protection from the big banks shutting us off. Banks can cancel our accounts and freeze our cards. And with Rumble Wallet, you control your money. Not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Not even Rumble can touch it. It's yours and only yours. Yours to protect your future and family. So you can buy and save digital assets like Bitcoin and Tether Gold in one place. Tether Gold is the real gold on the blockchain with ownership of physical gold bars. It's not only a wallet to buy and save either, but it also allows you to support your favorite creators by easily tipping them with a click of a button. There will be no fees when you tip our channel or others, and we actually receive that tip instantly, unlike other platforms where we have to wait for payouts. So all you have to do is go to wallet.rumble.com, or you can download the app on your various app stores there. So if you download Rumble Wallet, you can open an account and step away from the big banks for good. Rumble Wallet, great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Coming up, we'll have a few more live interviews here as we're monitoring some of the news that's happening out there in the world. In case you missed it, let's go to one of our other interviews with Bill Brown, the Navy SEAL, the retired Navy SEAL who joined us just yesterday. We'll go to that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a great person, a retired Navy SEAL. Bill Brown joins us now live. Sir, thank you again for your service. Thank you for joining us. Can you talk to us about your analysis on Operation Epic Fury as we're about 38 to 39 days into that operation?
First, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me on. What you do, your grassroots, it's a shining light for all Americans in this propaganda war that we're in. America first means eliminating threats before they reach the soil, the homeland. And that's what's happening here. President Trump has had the courage to do what needs to be done. Iran was months away from acquiring a nuclear capabilities, weaponized capabilities. And one of the things that's so threatening about that is Iran with nuclear weapons that has between 25 to 30 known submarines before Epic Fury, that puts every American in danger. We're talking about a regime that in Iraq, they supplied Shia militias with these shape charges that would create a molten jet stream that would pierce American armored personnel vehicles, which resulted, a lot of Americans don't know this, in over 600 American service members' deaths. We're talking about a regime that fires missiles on all its neighbors. We're talking about a regime that killed 45,000 of its own people. Iran, the IRGC with nuclear capabilities, was a threat to every American. And that's America first. Is Trump's number one job is to protect Americans. And that's what he's doing here. He's protecting Americans. Now I look at what's happening now. Just a few weeks ago, and actually just a few days ago, they basically put hijacked vital shipping lanes for 20% of the oil supply in the global market. And now what's happened? Now they don't have nuclear capabilities. Their military is destroyed. And guess what? And now they're coming to the table and they're going to open up the Strait of Hormuz again. Now, they didn't come to the table because they were nice. They came to the table because of the Trump doctrine, where he negotiates from a position of strength. So now they have basically surrendered. They've surrendered. They have no more nuclear capabilities. Their ability to project strength beyond the borders is seriously diminished. Their military is diminished. Their leadership has been basically neutralized. And now what is happening? Now they're signaling that they're going to play well with others in a sandbox. And so what President Trump's doing is I look at the scoreboard, and the scoreboard is what matters. No Iran with nuclear capabilities, number one. No Iran that has the ability to basically export horror to their proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and others, and the Houthis. And now what they're doing, and now they signaled that they're no longer going to hijack some of their most vital global shipping lanes on the planet.
So we're seeing the ceasefire happen. We're seeing the Strait of Hormuz be reopened. And also on top of that, when you were speaking about this, I was thinking about when President Trump said to Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine at the Oval Office, he says, I have the cards, you don't. And that is really what we're seeing again on display here when it comes to Iran indirectly, right?
It's a Trump doctrine. It's how he negotiates from positions of strength. And basically, it's a big pressure campaign. That's basically what this has been. It's been a pressure campaign to get the IRGC to comply. Now, if I had the ability to talk to President Trump and send him a message, this would be my message. My message would be that I think it's time to end the IRGC. And I don't think we need boots on the ground. And I would ask the president or anybody in the Pentagon to run AI simulators and see if we turn Karg Island into Fire Island, if that doesn't economically destroy the IRGC, because that's their economic artery. Basically, the coast of Iran is shallow. For order for some of those big tankers to come in and basically get the oil loaded on, they have to go in deeper waters. And that's why Karg Island is so vital, because it's the only part basically of Iran where they can do that. So if you take that off the chessboard, then guess what? They don't have the ability to do a couple things. They don't have the ability to fund IRGC patronage jobs. They don't have the ability to fund missiles. They don't have the ability to basically their terror proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis at all. Run any AI program and see that without Karg Island, guess what happens? IRGC becomes economically dead. And then they can't fund their terror. They can't fund their patronage jobs in their government. They will collapse. And I understand what Trump is doing. Trump wants people to work. He's a businessman. He loves business. He loves global business. He's trying to do a favor for the global market by not taking Karg Island off the table now, because it had hurt some of our Asian allies. i.e. India and Japan, that rely heavily on some of that oil coming from Iran. But the truth is, if you want to destroy Iran, they are very vulnerable. They are extremely vulnerable. If you take out Kurg Island, they will financially die.
We've also seen a number of strikes on Kurg Island as well, but you're saying to totally wipe it basically off of the map in order to end the IRGC. Let's also go to some of your service in the Navy. Of course, a retired Navy SEAL. This is Bill Brown joining us live. Bill, can you tell us about when you were a Navy SEAL, and then also can you tell us about the process? What was it really like to go from someone that is in the Navy to become a Navy SEAL?
Well, it was an honor to serve my country. I love our nation. And it was an honor to serve with a lot of beautiful men and women who love our nation and put it on the line for a country. I won in 1997, and the United States Navy SEALs wasn't the renowned outfit that they are right now. Most people had no idea who they were. I went in. I come from a strong tradition of veterans. Both my grandfathers and my father, and so I kind of followed that tradition. And I loved our country. One of the beautiful things about becoming in the SEAL teams is that you work with so many men that are very dedicated and have a great love for our nation. And it really opened my horizons. And some of my experiences in Iraq, specifically when I was doing, doing they call it PSD, Personal Security Detail, for the Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq, Burhan Salah. I did some sniper ops and snatch and grabs. But one of the most interesting things, as I got to travel throughout southern Iraq, which is basically Baghdad and south is Shia, basically a form of Islam that Iran is as well. And I was engaged with a lot of I got to see the CIA and how they operate when they would come in. I got to see how different leaders in the realm, like some of the imams, like Sistani out in Najaf. And one of the things I did realize is what an influence that Iran played and IRGC played when I was in Iraq, especially with the Shia militias that they armed, and they gave these updated mines that were basically shape charges and were condensed on each other and create these molten jet streams that would pierce American armed vehicles. So one of the things I know is I've seen horror. I've seen it firsthand. I was a responder to 2 suicide bombings. I will always stand against the jihadist ideology. And that's what's happening here, is we have a jihadist ideology that's running the IRGC, and it's basically it's terrorizing its own people. It's terrorizing its neighbors. It has American blood on our hands. And that's why I'm advocating it's time to end it. And we don't need to end it with boots on the ground. I hunt sometimes, and I'll be sincere with you. When I get a good shot and I'm right in the heart, I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit and wait. And if you take out Kurg Island, that's all we have to do. It will financially implode.
On the way to, final question here for you, and thank you again for your service. Thank you again for spending the time with us. But on the way to becoming a Navy SEAL, was there one moment that made you think, man, I'm going to ring the bell, I'm going to quit?
I had the real honor. In my boat crew in Hell Week, I had David Goggins and Chris Kyle, 2 renowned Navy SEALs. And to be sincere with you, when I was around those type of great Americans, I was so honored to be there. I knew the guys I was serving with. To be sincere with you, I never had that moment, because I'll tell you the truth. I did it out of love for my country. I did it out of love for my family. I did it out of love for the guys I was serving with. And you know what? That's what President Trump's doing right now, and Secretary Hegseth. They're taking a hard stand out of love for our nation. They saved millions of lives. If you could go back in time and someone could say, hey, let's take out Adolf Hitler before the Holocaust, or if Bill Clinton had the courage to do it the right way and took out bin Laden when he had the intel and did that, he would have saved thousands, almost 3,000 Americans during 9/11. That's what he's doing now. Have no mistake. A lot of people don't understand. A nuclear Iran, that's mass horror like we've never seen before. And President Trump just stopped that. It's a beautiful thing. And I look at the scoreboard, he's won. No matter what happens, he's won. Well, and humanity's won and America's won because Iran no longer has the ability to have nuclear weapons.
And that was the goal. And that goal, it looks to me, is accomplished. Retired Navy SEAL Bill Brown, thank you again for spending the time with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you again for your service. Great to interview Bill Brown once again here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a few more live interviews coming up here on the network before we call it a day. However, if there's any breaking news or developing news throughout the day, if it's major, we will be here for you. In the meantime, let's go to All Family Pharmacy with everything going on in the world right now. Supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that not many are talking about. Your access to medication is something that should be top of mind because most people don't think about it until they need something and can't get it. And by then, it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole. How about methylene blue and NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this whole process simple. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it straight to them, All Family Pharmacy. But if you don't have one, you just go online, you fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. So this is about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. So the people who have what they need in a crisis are, of course, are the ones that simply planned ahead. So you don't have to wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of it all right now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use that RSBN10 promo code. All right, one more sponsor here before we go on to our next live interview. A great sponsor, Birch Gold Group, because when the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. If you fast forward to today, the US dollar has lost about 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others out there are buying gold at record levels. And here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But it starts with education. And Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. You can sign up to get free silver on your next purchase and get even larger incentives as you go. So the more you learn, the more you can earn. So you must act now, though, as this special event only runs until the end of the month, April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor back in 1971. You don't have to lose yours, so just text the word Trump to 989898. Again, you get the free info kit from Birch Gold Group, but also you'll be joining the Birch Gold Learn and Earn Precious Metals event, and that will be by the end of the month, April 30th. So text Trump to 989898 today. It's 1:23 Friday, April 10th. Thanks again for joining us here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. If you'd like to follow me on the old social media, you can. It's at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social, and it's at Matthew US Media on X. Of course, follow Right Side, which most of you probably are, but if you aren't, it's at RSBN on Truth Social and at RSB Network on X. Joining us now is Dr. Kim Metcalf, an educational psychologist, to speak with us about numerous topics. First, thank you so much for joining us, Doctor. I guess the audio is not working there. Hello? All right, let's move on to our next guest coming up in just a minute. Let's go to Carla Sands with America First Policy Institute Director. We can go to that interview right now. Go to Ambassador Carla Sands, who's joining us once again here live. Thank you so much for joining us, Carla.
It's great to be with you, Matthew. Thank you for having me.
Definitely. Can you give us your reaction on the latest news that we're hearing from Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, and also President Trump last night on Truth Social and this morning? Your assessment, your analysis on Operation Epic Fury, where it stands now.
Yeah, it's so exciting that President Trump is giving peace a chance. He is a U.S. president that speaks loudly and carries an even bigger stick. So he's carving out his own very special legacy. And we can see that this Mullah IRGC-driven suicidal regime has been very tough to negotiate with. Now President Trump actually, because of his strength, has them at the negotiating table with a ceasefire for 2 weeks. We hope it holds. There are some back and forth. It's tenuous, but it's better than it was. And let's not forget, just a few days ago, the regime was saying, well, we're not even negotiating. No, there's no ceasefire coming. So this is a very tough regime. They are hard. I mean, the Iranian people are very strong negotiators, just writ large. And then this regime is especially tough. But he has them at the table. This is a great moment for us after 5 weeks of war that literally there is conversation going on with their leadership, which is a real diplomat who has power, and our side who have President Trump has their back.
It seems that President Trump has quite the 1-2 punch. He has the peace through strength aspect. Then he has, you can't negotiate with Trump because he's the one that's going to win that, isn't he?
He is. We've seen that he is the guy that wrote, and if your viewers haven't read it yet, read the book, The Art of the Deal, because it really does explain President Trump's negotiating style, which I think he's the best negotiator in chief that we have ever had in American history. And we can see that this regime, which has been enriching nuclear material, has been creating medium-range ballistic missiles, on the way to creating long-range ballistic missiles, which could reach the United States. So, and they have said death to America for 47 years. They have proven that they are capable of killing. They've killed our service members. They've also, I mean, they took our embassy personnel hostage for over 400 days until President Reagan freed them. So this is a murderous regime that killed between 30 and 40,000 of their own citizens just this year in 2026, and continue to kill members of the MEK. Just last week, they killed some heroes that were trying to overthrow them throughout Iran. So this is a regime that must go. President Trump now has a real other side negotiator that he can work with. And I'm hopeful that this war will come to an end. And I just want to encourage the American people. I know your gas prices are a little higher today than they were just a few months ago. President Trump lowered those gas prices for you because he loves you, but he wants you to be secure. He's going to make us prosperous, but also his number one responsibility is to keep us safe. And this was a danger to Americans from Iran, not just the region, but to the American people.
And that's what we even saw yesterday when there was talk of not only kind of a peace deal, but just a ceasefire. You saw the markets, you saw the crude oil barrel pricing just going down. But outside of that, we know that we're on about day 39, approaching day 40 of Operation Epic Fury. To your point, if this has been a surgical strike and taking care of business within an operational standpoint, and that there's no boots on the ground, and this is not a long, prolonged war type thing, I think that obviously the people can get behind that, similar to what happened in Venezuela with Maduro, that quick operation that happened there. So we'll see what happens. We'll monitor it here at the network. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about a few other topics. We'll talk Save America Act, and maybe DHS still is not fully funded. I know Congress is returning on the 13th, but what would be your message to Congress right now? Even though they're on recess, they're still working with their constituents, but your thoughts?
Matthew, that's a lot to unpack, but let me just share my thoughts, and all political views are my own. First of all, DHS must be funded. Here, under Joe Biden's presidency, we had hundreds of known terrorists allowed into our country. Some of them are Iranian. So there are absolutely sleeper cells in the United States. DHS must be funded. What the Democrats are doing is very dangerous. And it's shocking how irresponsible they are. And I would say seditious, because they're not protecting our country. And then if we think about what they're also doing, not allowing this Save America Act, which their constituents want it too. This is over 80% approved by all Americans. It's not just Republicans or one group or another. This is everybody across the board. So they must pass the Save America Act. And I would just encourage your viewers to either go to or call their senators, no matter what party they're in, Republican or Democrat, independent, call. And if you have a little time, go there. Go there and respectfully tell them you want election security, you want the Save America Act passed. And if you can, some of my friends are even going with a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent to the senator's office, no matter who they are, and saying, look, we are registering that we want you to pass this. We want you to go and do your job. And the first job of those senators is to make sure that our elections are secure. I tell senators that I know that it's the most important vote they will take in their time in the Senate is the Save America Act. There's no more important legislation, in my opinion.
That's quite the trifecta of pressure, Republican, Democrat, and independent agreeing on something, saying pass the Save America Act, photo ID, proof of citizenship, and the like. Before I let you go, the president just posted on Truth Social something, so I'm going to read it for the first time here. I'd love to get your feedback on it as well. President Trump said, quote, numerous agreements, lists, and letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the USA-Iran negotiation. In many cases, they are total fraudsters, charlatans, and worse. They will be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. There is only one group of meaningful points that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during these negotiations. The president says these are the points that are the basis on which we agree to a ceasefire. It is something that is reasonable and can easily be dispensed with. It's very much like fake news CNN last night headlining a quote-unquote source that had no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority, President Donald J. Trump. And I don't know if you heard this, Ambassador. I mentioned earlier that we have to get the popcorn ready and buckle the seatbelts because I think Karen Levitt's really going to give it to the cable news network, a.k.a. CNN. You don't get involved when it comes to this kind of thing and put out a bunch of lies and bogus that really could harm anybody, really.
Well, Matthew, I differ with you. I think CNN has put out a lot of lies and bogus things over the decades. I mean, most of their news doesn't seem to be news at all. It's actually political commentary trying to sway elections. But it's now owned by a Republican, a moderate Republican. And so let's see if CNN changes over time and can have a better impact in the world, because I will caution you, the rest of the world, when I'm in other countries, and I'll be an election observer in Hungary soon, the other countries, when you turn on the television, if you want English language news, it's BBC and it's CNN, and those are both hard left news. And so the rest of the world doesn't even get the conservative story. They don't have any idea what it's really like in the United States. They think everyone thinks like Kamala Harris and AOC.
Wow, really?
Yes.
That's why it's called an information war, right?
Yes. Yes. That's why we have to have our conservative voices out there, even not just in the US, which we need Americans to hear this version of what is actually the truth, not propaganda, but we need the rest of the world to understand. Otherwise, they don't understand what's happening in our country and how the American people are feeling. And they should, because the United States really drives the world economy and the political agenda around the world. When you have a strong president like President Trump who puts America first, it inspires leaders in other countries to put their own nation first, and it makes all of us safer.
Ambassador Carla Sands, thank you again for joining us, your insight and your friendship to the network. Thank you again.
Thanks, Matthew.
Great to see the former ambassador to Denmark under President Trump's first administration as the 45th president. to Denmark, Carla Sands there at the time, of course, still with America First Policy Institute as well. And speaking of AFPI, we're going to go to Georgia, in case you missed it, with Rebecca Yardley in just a little bit. Before we do, we have a live interview coming up, and we have this sponsor to talk about here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, 3 ways to always get to Kalshi: the QR code, downloading the app, or going to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Great site, great company, and a great sponsor here on Right Side. One of the major things on the political trends that people are betting or trading or just checking out the polls is all about the DHS shutdown. When will the DHS shutdown stop? Or there's a number of other questions out there you guys can check out if you like. So Kalshi.com/RSBN, more than 1 million users on that. And I'm sure there's more at this point when it comes to Kalshi. Growing big time out there in the national and in probably some international ways too, but mostly here in the United States. All right, let's also go to covepure.com/RSBN. You've heard us talk about Cove Pure before, and if the water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, Ohio weren't enough to get you to make the switch, well, this might. More than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there. They don't break down. They're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that should make you a bit more angry. The EPA, they set legal limits for PFAs in drinking water back in 2024. But the water systems have until 2031 to comply. So that's 5 whole years from now. And until that deadline arrives, the utility can actually be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. You're just drinking it, the tap water. It's awful. I don't know many people that do still drink tap water, but you definitely want to have something like Cove Pure right here. You can go to covepure.com for more information on this. The government, they know these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it yet, which means if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. And Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike the normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, their Clearwave reverse osmosis technology, it's actually certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants, PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And the best part about Cove Pure is they make it so easy. It sits right on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes or call in someone to install it. You just plug it in, and you can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm with the tap of a button. So don't wait till 2031. You can take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, you can get $250 off right now. That's covepure.com/RSBN. All right, it's 1:37 Friday, April 10th. Joining us now is Louis Cornelio. He's the associate editor with the Media Research Center's Free Speech America division. Thanks so much for joining us on this Friday, Louis.
Thank you for having me, Matthew.
Definitely. All right, so I understand there's this new poll out there about Operation Epic Fury. Can you enlighten us about that poll and maybe how Google News is handling the news?
You're right, Matthew. So there is yet another poll from the elitist media proclaiming to show that majority of Americans disapprove or disagree with President Donald Trump's handling of the U.S. military operations against Iran. Now, here's what we discovered. The White House has been getting hit with polling after polling, somehow showing that the same American voters who actually sent President Donald Trump to the White House in 2024 are now somehow oppose the same policies that they endorsed in 2024. So here's what the Media Research Center discovered. So we have been looking at the big 4 news apps, that is Apple News, Google News, MSN, and Yahoo News, to see how they have been covering the news and what type of outlets and stories they promote on their top 20 stories each morning. So Google News just this last month in March promoted, I want to get this number right, 239 stories about Iran. Now here's the kicker. Out of those stories, only 6 of them came from a right-leaning source, and that was Fox News. The rest of them, 183, came exclusively from left-leaning outlets. So it is no wonder why Americans, according to these polls, again, I do not trust these polls at all, but if they're like the media researcher President David Bozell said in an op-ed for the Washington Examiner, if there is any legitimacy in this polling, it blame not the policies, but blame the elitist media and the big tech news aggregators that are brainwashing Americans into opposing President Donald Trump. Now, like you mentioned, when you get 183 stories versus 6 stories from right-leaning sources, I mean, the consequences are just dire. I mean, Americans are being bombarded with a negative headline against President Donald Trump and this operation in Iran. Now, you do not have to agree with everything that President Trump has been doing in Iran, but I think you should expect Americans to receive fair and unbalanced news whenever they go on their phone, whenever they're going on Google News, on Apple News, but that is not the case.
This is what I like about the MRC and what you guys do with Newsbusters and all of that, really highlighting leftist media. I don't know if you want to call it malpractice, but just not doing it right. And I know that you guys have done that for decades. But when you look at that research and you see that, 80 to 90%, according to your research there, it's all left-leaning stories that keep getting kicked out and pumped out to the American people. So what would be your advice? I mean, is it as simple as just be aware? Is that why you guys are doing that? Just make people aware that this is what these Google News, Apple News is doing out there?
Well, this goes deeper than just, like you mentioned, malpractice. This is a coordinated effort to brainwash Americans and destroy, the political right and right-leaning media. And, we have been calling on the Trump administration and the Federal Trade Commission to investigate whether these aggregators are actually violating the Federal Trade Commission Act, which, bans the, deceptive practices. And the argument here, the question is whether these aggregators, whenever people sign up for them, and are these aggregators promising in their terms and services of promoting, fair and unbalanced news? That is the question here. If they are saying that when people sign up, they might be violating federal law. So, again, we're calling for the Trump administration to look into this and determine whether that is the case. And, again, this is a coordinated effort to destroy and, drown President Trump with negative coverage. And then, one of the answers that we get from people on the left is sometimes, well, the New York Times has foreign correspondents in all over the world, so it makes sense why Google News might be highlighting or prioritizing New York Times articles on their feeds. Well, yes, but then Fox News also has foreign correspondents. But then how come only 6 of their stories are being promoted on Google News? I mean, you yourself, Matthew, you're an Emmy-nominated journalist with over 20 years of experience. I mean, as an American, I would be interested in hearing about the interviews. And, you have interviewed, some of the most influential personalities in the world. I'm interested to see what Matthew Alvarez has, said or the people that he has interviewed. But that is not the case. I have a few examples of the headlines that are being promoted on Google News. Here's one from the Daily Beast. Quote, Trump humiliated by ally pilot who downed $100 million worth of U.S. jets, from the Daily Beast. Now, is this the type of, journalism, rigorous journalism that Americans deserve? I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we see time and time again. You guys, man, you guys are always looking at the left-wing media and to take a break from that, because, I mean, the amount that is out there, 90+%, it seems. So you guys have a lot of work that you have there. There's no shortage of that, of course. But Louis, before I let you go, can you talk to us about why you joined the Media Research Center and the Free Speech America division there? What was it that, kind of drove you to that end?
Right. So, I've been in politics and journalism since 2020 when I graduated college. I worked for a small news organization called Little American. It was a bilingual conservative news platform. We were just trying to, give Americans of Hispanic heritage a fair and unbalanced news. That we were trying to cover the news that the elitist media was ignoring, and we had to fight through big tech censorship just to be able to reach people who were actually searching for our news. So, that business had to close down because of the censorship. Just, again, news outlets actually rely on advertisement. And we know that big tech companies, at the time in 2020 and 2021, were just slamming conservative news platforms with censorship. RSBN itself has been censored multiple times by YouTube. So when you have censorship like that is impacting real life the real life of Americans, I decided I had to do something, and that's why I applied for a job at the Media Research Center, just to fight, against big tech censorship. And so far, our mission has been so far successful, which is why now we're targeting these big tech news apps, which are just running coordinated campaigns against conservatives and the right and President Donald Trump.
Exactly, and it's great work that you guys do there. Louis Cornelio, the associate editor with Media Research Center's Free Speech America Division. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and tell the crew there at MRC we say hello.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, sir. Great interview there. It's good to get that insight, the research, the numbers, all the things, to kind of see the inside baseball of how things are really run. I know a lot of you are aware of obviously the fake news media, but also even within that framework, when you see that Google News and others just, propping up false narratives like usual. So, all right, let's go to a few sponsors before we go to some more interviews, before we wrap up our broadcast, as we're monitoring some of the latest stories happening, of course, today, Friday, April 10th. Let's go to Birch Gold Group, as you see on your screen. And when the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed at $35 an ounce. Fast forward to today, and the U.S. dollar has lost more than 85% of its purchasing power. Gold, on the other hand, has increased in value by more than 12,000%. That's why central banks and others are buying gold at record levels. Here at RSBN, we encourage you to consider diversifying your savings with physical gold from Birch Gold Group. But this all starts really with education. So Birch Gold just announced their Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. This free online event rewards you for learning the basics of investing in precious metals. So you can sign up to get free silver on your next purchase. Get even larger incentives as you go. The more you learn, the more you can earn. So you must act now, though. This is a special event. It only runs until April 30th. The dollar lost its anchor in 1971. You don't have to lose yours, so just text the word Trump to that number, 989898. You see that on your screen. This is to join Birch Gold's Learn and Earn Precious Metals event. Again, by April 30th, text Trump to 989898 today. Also, All Family Pharmacy, another great sponsor. We've been talking about All Family Pharmacy, but also because with everything going on in the world right now, supply chain issues, global instability, shortages that nobody's really talking about, your access to medication is something that should be top of mind, because most people don't think about it until they need something and then can't get it. And then by then, it's just too late. So we've been recommending All Family Pharmacy for a while now, and this is exactly why. They're an independent American pharmacy that helps you stay stocked and prepared. Pretty simple stuff. That's what I like about All Family Pharmacy. Common sense, right? They carry hard-to-find medications like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, mebendazole, methylene blue, NAD+, along with more than 400 everyday prescriptions for blood pressure, thyroid, diabetes, and more. And they make this whole process simple. If you already have a prescription, your doctor can send it straight to them. If you don't have one, you just go online to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You fill out a quick form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and if appropriate, they handle the prescription and it ships right to your door. So this is all about being prepared before you need it, not scrambling after the fact. And the people who have what they need in a crisis are the ones who simply planned ahead. So don't wait until the shelves are empty. You can get ahead of it now. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to search for what you and your family might need and save 10% at checkout when you use that RSBN10 promo code. All right, it's 12:48 Central Time, 1:48 on the East Coast. Thanks again for joining us right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's do a couple stories when it comes to In Case You Missed It, so the ICYMI. First Lady Melania Trump delivered a statement at the White House yesterday. We're going to take a look at that. We'll take a look at another interview in just a second. And as we're watching these interviews, I'll be checking out some headlines as well. So let's go to the First Lady of the United States of America.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein's abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, this doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you.
All right, a statement there from the First Lady of the United States just yesterday, Melania Trump, if you missed it. Also, in case you missed it, I caught up with Rebecca Yardley of the America First Policy Institute, the Georgia chapter. So let's go from D.C. down to the Peach State. Let's take a look. America First Policy Institute's Rebecca Yardley joining us live right now. Thanks so much for joining us, Rebecca.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. I understand that AFPI Georgia responded to legislative action on an election integrity proposal. Can you bring us up to speed on the latest with that whole story?
I'd be happy to. House Bill 963 was a piece of legislation moving through our General Assembly this year that would have put a prohibition of foreign national influence in Georgia's ballot initiatives. It was designed to close the potential gaps by making it clear that foreign nationals could not fund or participate in campaigns tied to Georgia ballots, and it would have provided clarity and enforceable standards at the state level. This was a nonpartisan issue, and it passed the House with strong bipartisan support, 140 to 24. But unfortunately, the Senate ultimately tabled the bill on March 31st and never took it up before the Georgia legislature sine-died on April the 2nd.
So when we bring it up to speed now, the 30,000-foot view, how does this pertain maybe to things like the Save America Act? I know that's a different issue, but overall, I mean, don't we just want election integrity, election security, and election common sense in our country?
So that's exactly right. Our elections are how citizens make their voice be heard, and that process should be reserved for citizens that are Americans alone. It's not about protecting the integrity of Georgia's elections from anything other than foreign influence. And I think we all can agree, whether you are on the left or on the right, that citizens in our state should be the only ones who engage in our election process. In allowing for any avenue of foreign involvement, even if it's indirectly, raises serious concerns about election integrity. And here in Georgia, we've been fighting election integrity since 2020.
Let's talk about Georgia a little bit more. And Rebecca, of course, you're with the America First Policy Institute, the Georgia chapter. Can you talk to us about why you joined with AFPI? Obviously, we have a lot of people from that institute on our network, but what was it that said to yourself, hey, I gotta jump in and do this for Georgia and for the country?
Well, I've had a love of politics for the last 30 years here in Georgia, being involved in our legislative process and in our political process. But there's an excitement in being able to engage in changing the narrative in this country and changing that narrative to say that it is time that we put the American people, and in this instance here in Georgia, the Georgia people first. And we do that by passing good policy. And that's what the America First Policy Institute is doing. They're instituting and developing good policy that we can take all the way down to our state levels. Most of the time people think just about what's happening at the federal level, but the core of what we do in this country starts at our states and the state action that is taken. And so to be involved with AFPI and the expansion of our state chapter program that we have, it's just exciting. Right this moment, AFPI's state chapter program has 10 states engaged with expansion over the next few years to all 50 states. And that means that you are taking federal policy, drilling it down to the state level where we are making the most direct impact.
And that makes a whole lot of sense. It's a lot of common sense, it sounds like. The fact that there are 10 states so far, I know that Pennsylvania is one of them, Georgia, and others out there. And finally, what's it like for you, Rebecca, when you meet up with the people from the other states that are part of AFPI, or maybe the great staff in Washington, D.C., there's got to be a lot of camaraderie and pride of, hey, you know what, we're doing this with the American people, because you are we the people as well.
Well, when I think about it, I think about the future generations that are coming after us. Our founder, Brooke Rollins, used to say, we're not building this for today, we're building this for 100 years from today. And as a grandmother to 3 wonderful grandchildren, I think about the legacy and the future that we're leading them. And particularly this year, as we embark on the 250th founding of this country, we think about what the founding fathers envisioned for us and the future of America when they started out. And it's our duty to carry that legacy forward. And we only do that by ensuring that we are putting an America First movement into place. And that's the work that AFPI does every single day. We get up with a renewed and refreshed spirit, ready to put forth the hard work that needs to be done so that we move the America First movement forward.
America First Policy Institute's Rebecca Yardley joining us live from the great state of Georgia. Thanks again, Rebecca, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely. All right, it's 2 o'clock on the East Coast. In just a little bit on the bottom of your screen, you'll see that pop to the 2 o'clock here on this Friday, April 10th. We're going to go over a couple of our sponsors here. But before I do, those of you on Rumble right now, again, those of you guys watching on Rumble, I have the app up here. This is a little bit delayed, but that's all right. See, there you go. So all of you guys talking here, I want to ask you a question. What state are you watching from? Just curious. It's just fun to see who's watching from where out there. So thanks so much for watching on all of the platforms that you guys are watching us on. Of course, over there on YouTube as well, and X and all over the place. Just thanks for doing so. But just asking Rumble today. So Rumble, let us know where you guys are watching from. In the meantime, this all brought to you by some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. There's this warehouse sale that's going on, and this is a good time to get some great products. Save up to 80% right now with the great MyPillow. Of course, the great owner coming from a terrible situation where he was dealing with a lot back in the day. He overcame all of that, gets saved thanks to Jesus, and then also successful today. Under attack, of course, but he's standing for the truth. It's great to see him stand for the truth as he does, and we love to have him here on the network too, and we love talking about mypillow.com/RSBN. Go ahead and purchase a product if you can. The warehouse moving sale. Also, RSBN. If you'd like to donate to us, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. And then from there, you can go ahead and donate to the network if you'd like. In the meantime, let's take that look from Rumble here quickly. Let's see some of the states that we're seeing. Wow, it says watching from Denmark, so not a state. That's pretty cool. We see Denmark, we see Texas, we see Louisiana, Wisconsin, North Texas, we see West Virginia, Texas again, Missouri. So that's great. Awesome to see you guys watching from all over the place. Same thing with you guys over there on YouTube, but obviously RSBN, we love Rumble, as it's our home is Rumble as well. All right, so it is 2:02 Friday, April 10th. Thanks so much for watching here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We love you, America. We'll see you again soon. If there's any breaking news or developing news, you know where to find us. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.